Today we have Jackie. Jackie joined Cheltenham Running Club as a walker, and Jackie, you actually came along in December to actually do some walks. One of the very few privileged walkers of Cheltenham to actually experience some walks with the club before we then got shut down for lockdown. So can we just start with just having a quick chat about what you were doing for exercise and maybe why you expressed an interest in the first place?
Yeah, well, the only exercise I really do is walking my dog, which I do a lot, but my dog is old and, it's not exercise really. I walk faster than she does. She just plods along. And I do quite a lot I do walk quite a bit, but sort of very casually. And I just thought it would be a good idea to do something a bit more structured than that. The other problem I have is I do get sciatica, and I do find it gets much worse if I spend a lot of time sitting down. It wasn't so bad when I was in the office, sitting on a proper office chair, but now that I work from home, I can't resist the urge to sort of sit on the sofa with the laptop, and it's just lethal leaning over the laptop on a squashy sofa. And I did find walking helped a lot with that. So I just thought that it would be quite nice to expand my repertoire of people I meet to go for walks. I do have about 3 or 4 people I regularly walk with, but partly because I'm hoping to partially retire, and partly because I work from home, I can nip out for an hour here and there more than I ever could when I was in the office. I thought it would be a good idea to join, and just to join the groups, and if I'm free, I can go along and maybe meet some other people, especially maybe some that live nearer where I live. So that's why I did it. And I sort of quite impulsive, and I clicked on the link. Before I knew it, I was talking to you and got myself booked in for 3 or 4 walks. But they were really good fun, actually. I enjoyed it. But then obviously it was Christmas, and then, Boxing Day lockdown, and it sort of fizzled out in the group capacity. But I'm sure you'll go on in a minute to say, how we've managed to keep it going through lockdown and everything else.
Well, that's it. I mean, those walks we did, we met up at the pump rooms.
Yeah,
you were doing lunchtime walks, weren't you?
I was doing the lunchtime ones because I just couldn't be sure I'd get out of work in time, and it'd just be too stressful driving like a nutter to try and park up in time and everything. And the lunchtime is good for me because it kind of breaks the day up. And they were good. I think the thing I found with them, it's difficult to gauge your level really. And sometimes I'd set off with someone I got talking to who seemed were nice, but then it turned out that they were either much quicker than me or just wanted to go really slowly. And it's quite hard to find someone who walks at your speed.
Yes, that's it.
But there's usually somebody anyway. And I think that was because at that point, none of them really knew how fast they walked, and neither did you. But I think since then, we've all got the app, and we've kind of worked out our speed. And I now know that I'm about 5.5 kilometers an hour. So I've kind of, and the people I walk with are similar. So, I think I didn't even have that much awareness before really. When initially it would be, do you want to go in the sort of fast walk? Brisk walk, or the kind of more social walk, and I wasn't even really sure which one to go in. I think I'm kind of halfway between really. So sometimes I fell into step with people who if I was on my own, I would have gone a lot faster, and sometimes the opposite was the case, and I kind of had a job to keep up with them.
Yep.
But that's the point, isn't it?
Well, that's the situation we've obviously had with runners as well. We've been dealing with that challenge for years. People, come along to their first session. They don't know how fast they run or walk, because they've never used an app or a GPS watch that tells them how fast they're walking. Some people have walked or run on a treadmill and they've seen what speed they're doing on the treadmill, and that kind of can help them. But then again, even translating that to walking and running outdoors can be completely different. We can walk at completely different speeds. So, that is the initial challenge that we faced, and that was especially the case but in December, when we literally didn't know how fast anyone walked. And as you say, I broke it into 2 categories just to try and give people the option, and I think it definitely helped. But even within the slow group, we called it the social group, there were slower walkers and faster walkers, weren't there? And the faster, there was the same thing. And it all worked out okay in the end. Sometimes we split into pairs, didn't we?
Yes, that's right.
So that people could sort of walk at their own speed. But something I was saying regularly was that it won't be until people have attended 3 or 4 sessions and they've got to know 3 or 4 people that they walk at the same speed as, and they'll start to click with those people, that it'll start to all work itself out, and that people will actually have some sort of idea of where they fit in. when we get back to group walks in the future, I'm actually looking at splitting into 3 different speeds instead of just the slower and faster. With the running groups, we have like 8 different speed groups, and then we've got 2 couch to 5K groups as well. So, we've already got 10 groups that people can book into as runners, but then we'll look to have 3 walking groups, because the worst thing, it is the worst thing to have a group just spread out, or to have one person really struggling, 2 people really struggling and feeling like they've been left behind. And that's an experience we don't want people to have. And we know that people do have that experience in other clubs. And there's something we can do about it. So, the other great thing that we're looking forward to going forward is that we know that we're going to have the numbers. We had over 100 people book into sessions in January. That would have meant that every group that we were putting on had good numbers. And so we know that when we get back into it in April, that we are going to have a big influx of walkers. And again, they won't necessarily know how fast they walk, but when they attend 3 or 4 sessions, they're going to start to figure out which group's best for them, and they'll start clicking with people. And before you know it, we'll have a bumper club of different walking groups. And the world's our oyster at that stage. It's really exciting. So we had to cancel all those walks, which was a real shame. What was that like for you when you realized that it wasn't actually going to happen?
Well, I was a bit disappointed because I kind of just got into it, really. And I think with anything, you need to have a few weeks before it becomes a bit of a habit, if you see what I mean. And I think, I must have done maybe 2.5 weeks worth or something like that. But then it was Christmas anyway, and I don't know how much time people would have had. So it was a bit disappointing. But I just assumed it would have to lapse until the lockdown ended. At that point, we didn't really know. I didn't think it would be going on this long, to be honest. And as I say, I do have other people to walk with anyway. So I didn't stop the exercise particularly, but I did think it was a shame because, I built up a bit of an interest in it, so then, obviously I was pleased when you came out with your solution of keeping it going on the one-to-one level. And that's been quite successful. As I said to you before we went live on air, I do prefer, in some ways, I like walking with one other person. I think you get to know them quite well, and you just automatically fall into step with them. Whereas if you're in a group of 3 or 4, it's harder to get to know them, I suppose, and I've enjoyed it, and I haven't yet walked with anyone who I've thought, oh my goodness, why did I do this? On the contrary, in fact, there's one lady who I'm seeing again, we're meeting up again tomorrow, who I saw last week, and it's fine. So I thought that was very good. I was really pleased with that.
Yeah, brilliant. And as you say, just having that one person to walk with, you get to know that person better in a 45-minute, 1 hour period with them than you are with a group of 5 or 6. And sort of swapping around, and I guess the conversations can get a bit more in depth, can't they?
I think so, and also you can choose your time. And there's somebody who I'm meeting on Friday lunchtime. She works from home like me, and we can spare an hour at lunchtime, at 1 o'clock, which probably wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea at all. And she also happens to live quite near me, so there's not much driving. Neither of us live in Cheltenham, so these are the kind of arrangements you can make on that level, which in a group, I'd have to be there at the set time in the set place, whether or not it was ideal timing, I'm not saying I won't do it, because I will, but there are obviously other benefits of going in a group. But I just thought it worked well. I think you need 1 or 2 people to go onto the WhatsApp group that you set up for us to say, anyone fancy a walk? Then loads of people reply, but I think people are a bit reticent to start with, sort of putting themselves out there, But there were 1 or 2 that did that, 2 or 3 that did that, and I think it's gone from there, really.
Yeah, brilliant. Cool. So it's great, isn't it, though, that we only had about 20 people join after getting the bad news about lockdown. But you've still managed to find someone relatively close to you, who's around about the same speed, and who lives near you.
Yes.
Is that what I said? Lives near you, around about the same speed. Oh no, and can walk at the same time as you.
Yes, right? Well, that's right. I think because, I think there's a few people who are working from home and feel like I do. If I'm working from home and I'm being paid, I can't really be seen strolling around all morning on Cleve Hill kind of thing. Whereas lunchtime, obviously, quite legitimately can take an hour out at lunchtime, and I would anyway. And I think there are a few people in that situation actually, because it's still, at the moment, it's still not quite light enough to go for a walk after work, particularly if you've got to finish at 5:30. By the time it's still, I mean, in a month or so's time will be different altogether. But at the moment, I mean, I don't mind walking around Cheltenham in the dark kind of thing around the streets or anything, but certainly walking over the fields around where I live, you just wouldn't do that kind of thing in the evening. So that will open up an after work window that at the moment we don't tend to bother with. We tend to do the lunchtime ones.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely right. Walking through the fields is lovely, but you really need daylight to do it, don't you?
And it's thick mud at the moment as well, isn't
it? Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, and so what are you looking forward to with the club? When we get back into groups, what would you like to be doing? What would you like to happen?
Well, I think having said how much I enjoy the flexibility of kind of arranging something to suit me with one other person, I think in some ways having a routine, a sort of commitment of the group time would help me to kind of stick to it and work around it a bit. So I suppose that, and probably building my speed up a little bit. And I think, as I've said to you before, I would quite like to do some very easy running at some point and kind of morph into a running, whether that's probably the couch to 5K or something like that. Probably not quite ready for that yet. But I'd quite like to do that. But other than that, I'd be quite happy just to meet people for a walk, and if I can organise myself, get into the habit of going after work on a Tuesday or that kind of thing. I think that would be really good. And walk. I mean, to be honest, they're just walking around Cheltenham with people from the buddy group and with a couple of colleagues who I walk with. I've walked around parts of Cheltenham I've never walked around before, and I've lived here, nearly 30 years or something. And there's whole areas that I've just never had cause to walk around, and I actually quite like that. I quite enjoy the town walking.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, there's no rush to get running, and we didn't create this idea of having walking groups to feed into the running, but obviously there will be some people that are looking at improving their fitness, and actually we're doing as much as we can to I guess educate walkers on how to build up their strength and the suppleness of their muscles, so that they can one day, if they want to, get into jogging, maybe through the country 5K, because there will be, I know that there are a lot of people who are keen to do that. They just don't feel confident in their bodies to run yet, but they want to one day. But then on the flip side, there are people who are passionate about walking and absolutely love it. And I'll be honest, I was never a big walker. Obviously, I've been a runner, but my family and I, we go out walking twice each weekend now. We have a black lab who needs walking, and we just go out in all weather. We've been out in the snow, we've been out in the wind and the rain. For us, there is no bad weather, just bad kit. So we've got all the kit we need, and just throw ourselves at it. And I've each weekend I'm sort of jumping on this app we're using, Komoot, and I'm just on my phone, just setting a route somewhere that I've never been before, and I can trust it because I know that the route that I'm setting out they are existing trails that have been around Cheltenham that I didn't know about for years, and it's really opened my eyes as to what we have around us. What is available. And even though it's muddy as heck, last weekend we were walking across fields which were actually they had saplings, so it was mostly mud, but there is it will be what do you call them? Fields of wheat and things. But our shoes were just lugging. I've got a 5-year-old.
Yes, that's right.
We just I've got mud climbing up my leg, basically from my sole of my foot up the inside and outside of my foot and up my leg, kicking it off every now and then. But just love it, like just being out. It's amazing. Like I don't think I've ever appreciated being outdoors as much as what I have in this particular lockdown, and as part of my life. I coach my son's football team, so I have to toughen up and get out there in my big coat and stand on the sideline. So that's quite hard work in winter. But when you're walking, you're moving, so you warm up pretty quickly, don't you? And so and it's just going to get easier to walk as we get closer and closer to summer and into summer. So I'm really excited about what we've got coming up, you know, in terms of the options we've got for walks around the Cotswolds and through the town centre as well. So you're in the Facebook group. You notice we're posting challenges into in there on little things to do. Did you actually have a go at the squat challenge in the end?
I did have a go at that one, yes. I'm not very good. It just confirmed to me that I haven't got much strength in my legs, really.
Okay.
But no, I could do that. Okay. And I thought that was quite useful, actually, because I just hadn't thought about it like that before. It's a good way of finding out where your weak spots are. What
did you find out from that?
It's just really, well, I think it's my knees really ached.
Okay.
That's the most thing. You know, I couldn't hold it for too long, and the fronts of my thigh as well.
Yeah. So just for those of you watching, it wasn't like a challenge to do as many squats as you could. It was literally just to get your feet lined up straight, wasn't it? So that the feet are parallel. Right. How did that feel to you? Did you feel quite natural with your feet? That was fine. That was
fine, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And then it was just to lower yourself into a squat, and you can use a pole or something to stop you from falling backwards, but really just how to squat correctly. And the squat's so important, just as a functional thing for us to be able to do. Whenever we go picking up off the floor, we have to squat. So it's not just about improving your cardiovascular fitness, but actually improving your strength and functionality for years to come. So I think that there will be a proportion of walkers who are joining this because they want to improve their fitness and their functionality for years to come. It's not just about social, and it's not just about walking. So hopefully we can help as many people as possible through that. And that's obviously something we do with the runners as well. We don't just want our runners to be runners and that's all they can, they do their back in tying up their shoelace. Do you know what I mean? And this has happened to Olympic runners in the past. They're amazing at running, but when it comes to doing something functional, they don't never learned how to pick something up safely without injuring themselves. So, so really, that's a really big thing for us, is teaching people to prevent injury and to age nicely so that they're functional for years to come and don't need to rely on other people, as time gets on. So yeah, I mean, that's it really. We, obviously it's young. We've only been going for nearly 3 months now. I mean, December was only really a trial for a few weeks. We had, groups of up to 6. But the best is absolutely yet to come. So did you have any other thoughts on your experiences so far, Jackie?
Not really. I spent a lot of time working full time, and then when I wasn't working full time, I was caring for my elderly father with dementia. And it's not sadly, actually, it's mercifully, but he's died now. And so, last summer I was just so up to my neck in that I didn't really have time to do anything. So now, I've got quite a lot more freedom now, what with working from home, and being freed up from that commitment. So I'm really looking forward to this. This now that evenings are getting lighter, instead of being at the care home or whatever, I'm really hoping to get fitter and have a bit more personal time to spare. And I'm more than happy to spend it doing some walking. I think it'll be good for me, and I'll enjoy. I'm looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me.
That's all right.
And I look forward to seeing you again late March. If we don't talk, I'm sure we'll talk before then.
Do you think that's the date that we can go back?
Definitely.
Then
29th of March is the official date. Absolutely.
As long as nothing slips, which we hope it won't.
Sorry. Of course.
Hope it won't. Yeah.
No, we'll be fine. And look, we will, obviously there will be people out there who are worried about meeting up in groups. I can guarantee you that we'll be keeping the groups small, even from the 12th of April, assuming that all goes well. That was I think that's stage 3, wasn't it? That's when actually they're saying that there won't need to be any limitations on numbers, meeting for exercise. Stage 2, being the 29th of March is when we're limited to that 6, like we were through December. But even going into stage 3, and I'm not sure about when we get to stage 4, but certainly in stage 3, we'll still be looking to keep the groups to a maximum of somewhere between 6 and 8, because there's no need to have 10, 20 people walking down the sidewalk together, is there? Do you know
No,
what I
that's
mean?
too many. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, we want to keep the group small and make sure that there's lots of space on the footpath or the, you know, wherever you're walking. We're still going to be staggering the start time, so that we're not going to have it, you know, all 50 people show up at the same time and then get into their groups and then go off for their respective walks and runs. We'll still have the walkers meeting first, you know, on the midweek runs, and the runners coming in after that. And it'll be all staggered, so we're never having big clumps of people at the same time. So yeah, we're certainly going to keep diligent with the measures that we are taking with regards to COVID. But yes, thanks again, and
right.
I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Okay.
See you, Jackie.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.